Welcome to this YSL video tutorial. This is part 1 of a 4-part series that will teach you how to create custom fields in Microsoft Project. In this part of the series, what you'll learn is how to create a custom field, of course. As we teach you this, we'll talk to you about which data types you can use for your custom fields. We'll also show you how you can rename a field so that it has a sensible title when it's inserted into a table. And finally, we'll show you how to insert that field into a table so that you can use it. The first example we'll cover will show you a fairly simple text field. And once we've done that, we'll talk to you about something a bit more exciting. We'll show you how to create drop-down list fields as well. So in that session, we'll talk to you about how to type in a list of values, how you can choose a default value for your custom fields, and also how you can restrict your user's choice to the items you've typed in. So let's get started. So this is the example file we're going to use to demonstrate how to create custom fields. The project we have here is Santa's Workshop production schedule for Christmas 2011. It's a slightly silly example, I have to admit, but the techniques we're going to look at here are quite important, so we'll just go with it for the time being. At the moment I'm looking at the Gantt chart view, and the first field we're going to create is actually going to be inserted onto the resource sheet. So my first job is actually to switch onto that view. I'm going to click on the View tool up here in the top left hand corner and choose Resource Sheet. And what we're looking at here is a list of the most popular toys for Christmas 2011, according to Google at any rate. The custom field we're going to create to begin with is going to allow us to type in a description for these toys, because I can't really tell what most of these things are by reading their names. To start creating a custom field then, two choices. You can either click on the Project tab on the ribbon at the top here and look for the Custom Fields button, nice and simple. Alternatively, you can right click on any available column and choose Custom Fields from there as well. That's what I'm going to do right now. And here we have it, the Custom Fields dialog box. The first choice you need to make here is what kind of field are you going to create. There are two main types of tables you might insert a field into. One's a task table. The Gantt chart view that we saw originally was an example of a task table, or a resource table, and the resource sheet is an example of a resource table. As we're going to insert our field into a resource sheet, we're going to use the resource field type. The next choice you have to make is what kind of data is going to be stored in the field. By default it says text here. I just want to show you a couple of the other options. You can use cost for monetary values, you can use dates, hopefully that's fairly obvious. You can include times in a date field as well. There are numbers for any other values, any other numerical values other than costs, and a couple of other interesting ones as well. Because we're going to type in a description, we're going to make sure that ours is set to text. Now depending on the data type you've chosen, you'll have a different number of available fields to customize. With a text data type, you get up to 30 free text fields available. I haven't customized any of mine yet, so I'm just going to choose text 1 as my first one to customize. The most sensible thing to do next is to rename the field by clicking the rename button. So there we go. You get a little dialog box here to type in your new field title. I'm going to call mine toy description, and then click on the OK button. Now I know there are lots of other exciting looking options here. We're going to ignore all of those for the time being. Choose OK. And then I'd just like to show you how to insert your custom field into a table. Because that doesn't happen by default. Simply creating a custom field doesn't insert it into a table. You have to do that separately. So to do that, I'm going to right click on the column heading of this type column. Look for the option called Insert Column and click on it. I then get a nice big list of all of the available fields I could insert into my table. I scroll down far enough. I need to scroll down to the section beginning with T. Now if you remember, I had the field originally was called text 1, and I changed its name to toy description, so I'll find it listed here under text 1 with toy description in brackets. If I scroll down a little bit further, I'll also find my field listed as toy description with text 1 in brackets. It makes no difference whatsoever which of these two options you click on, so I'm going to click on toy description here to insert my field, and there it is. Now all I need to do in order to use this field is to click in a cell and type in some information. So I'm going to type in a quick little description for Doggy Do game, which is something I discovered this morning. A game in which the aim is to make a dog do a poo. Times have definitely changed since I was a child. And there we go, there's a simple custom field. So now that we've shown you how to create a basic text field, we want to show you something slightly more interesting and show you how to create a custom drop-down list. The example we'll use is a way to create a drop-down list for Santa to choose a supplier for these toys. The starting point is just as we did earlier. Head to the Project tab on the ribbon and click the Custom Fields option. We're going to create another resource field and the data type will be text again. All we need to do is choose a different field to customize. I'm going to click on Text 2 and then, as we did earlier, click on the Rename button. I'm going to call this field Supplier. Hit Enter and there we go. Earlier all we did at this point was clicked OK and then inserted our field into the table. To create our drop-down list, however, we're going to click on this Lookup button. Once I do that, I get a dialog box that lets me type in my list of entries. All I need to do is think of a few. So let's see, Toys R Us sounds like a sensible one to supply toys. When I hit enter, it adds that entry to the list. And then it's just a case of typing in a few more just for demonstration. So let's think, we'll have Tesco's toys, and let's have Argos in there, maybe John Lewis, and let's have an online one as well. You can always come back and add more entries to this list a bit later on. Now there are a few more settings other than just the list of entries that I've typed in at the bottom half of the dialog box. The first one here specifies whether I want to use a default entry in this field. So let's say, for example, that Santa uses Toys R Us more regularly than any other supplier. I could make sure that every new toy that I create in my list is automatically assigned to the Toys R Us supplier. To do that, I need to tick this box down at the bottom here, use a value from the table as the default entry for the field, and then once I've selected the one that I want to use, click on the Set Default button. I'll just click away from that for a moment. You can see that this is now the default value because it's highlighted in blue. If I wanted to undo that, I can simply uncheck this box. Another useful thing that I can do is change the display order of my field. I have just typed these in a random order as they occur to me. What I can do is choose to sort my list in ascending order, and once I've selected the order I want to sort them in, click on the sort button and I'll find they're listed alphabetically now. One final quite clever option I could use as well is to allow additional items to be entered into the field. So what that means is if a user comes along and they see this list of 5 suppliers, but they've found a different supplier that they want to use, if I check this box, they'll be allowed to type in any additional item they want. By default, they can only select from this list. Quite cleverly, if they type in new values, those values will automatically be added to my lookup list. So the new item will be added into this list, meaning they'll be able to select it from the drop-down list next time around. I'm not going to do that in this example. All I'm going to do is click on the Close button and then select OK. The last step is then to insert my field into the table again. So just as I did earlier on, I'm going to right click on the top of any existing column and choose Insert Column. I'll find my custom field listed in 2 places again. I'll find it listed under S for Supplier. There it is with text 2 in brackets, but also under text 2 with Supplier in brackets. I'm going to select that one. And there it is. You can see immediately as soon as I have a cell selected in this field, it gives me a drop down arrow, and when I select the drop down arrow I can choose from my list of entries. It's as simple as that. One last little note, if I added in any additional toys, let's type in some Lego. Lego's always a good bet for Christmas. If you remember the default entry for this field, this is automatically assigned to Toys R Us. And that's how drop-down lists work. If you've enjoyed this training video, you can find many more online training resources at www.wiseowl.co.uk.